Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House here with the sagacious Charles Coulombe.
Wow. I know you're going to be something you're going to live up to. Thanks. That's hard.
Yeah, it's going to be hard work.
It is, but I'll try. You don't have to try it all, though. Your popularities are short around here.
Uh-huh.
I was talking to Bob in the motor pool. They're all for you, too. I'm telling you, you're winning the popularity contest in this whole organization.
Well,
I'm proud of you.
yeah. I'm a man of the people, as I've said before.
Yeah, I'll say. You know, Bob was telling me that you rarely ever grumble when he has to give you a lift to the company limo.
No, I don't. I'm very grateful.
That's for sure. He said something about how you get in and somehow the bar in the back is drained by the time you get wherever you're going.
It's kind of mysterious.
It's peculiar. Well, anyway, I guess the life of an executive is good. Yeah, well, you know what? Today is 2 days before St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. You excited?
I am. I'm very excited. It's the Feast of St. Longinus today. The centurion who pierced our Lord's side.
Mm-hmm.
But I am getting ready for the big countdown. I am also, by the time our friends in Radioland will see this, I'll be back. But I'm getting ready to go to Minneapolis and Paul, the Twin Cities.
Very exciting.
I'm very excited to go. Especially, you know, Minnesota in March is a real pleasure. But also, I'll be talking in one place about the Vendée and the French counter-revolution, and in the other about the influence of the church on French-Canadian culture. So, I don't know, I'm feeling very, very Gallic, although you wouldn't think of Minneapolis, St. Paul as a Gallic place.
Yeah. Well, it's more Gallic than here.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And other than that, I'll be spending St. Patrick's Day in the Twin Cities. They do have a large Irish contingent. I understand they tint the Mississippi green.
Wow, doesn't Chicago do that too?
Yeah. We do it, but I think if we did tint the LA River green, no one would notice.
That doesn't hurt anything. The wildlife people aren't.
No, it's a Jameson's based dye.
Jameson's based at what, whiskey?
Yeah.
What are you talking?
It's a Jameson's based dye.
You tint the river green with whiskey dye?
Yes. How else do they do it?
Oh, that's perfectly fine for fish.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
They're easier to catch for like 3 days afterwards. Just reach in and pull them out. Swimming along drunk, it's very sad in some ways. No, I don't think anybody goes fishing in the Chicago River.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we've had enough fun. What do we got?
Just a quick reminder before we get started, if you have a question for Charles, you can send them through our website, tumblrhouse.com, on the Contact Us page.
Now you know.
Yeah, now you know. Okay, first question from Jay Voiles. If Catholics are the real Christians, why don't we call ourselves Christians instead of Catholics? Wouldn't that help clear up the confusion? Since many Protestants don't really call themselves Protestants anymore, especially among the millennial generation.
Well, not really. I mean, Christian, you know, I grew up with people saying to me, oh, I'm not Catholic, I'm Christian. To which my response would be, well, if you're not Catholic, then you're not Christian. And they would say, what do you mean? And I would say, well, you're Protestant. I don't know what you're protesting, but you're Protestant. And it would just go on and on and on. This is really a six of one, half dozen of the other thing, I'm afraid. You know, the problem that you face is that the God of the Christ of the Protestants is not really the same as the God of the Christ of the Catholics and the Orthodox. Why? Because of the sacraments. those sacraments, all seven, make a huge gulf between the two versions of Christianity, which I'm afraid there's no easy way to describe.
Okay.
It's obvious if you have the sacraments. If you don't have the sacraments, you don't realize what everyone's talking about.
What's the history of the use of the two terms? I mean, so the early Christian church, did they use the word Catholic?
Yeah, they use both. I think it was St. Augustine or somebody who said, Christian is my name and Catholic is my surname or something. I forget the exact quote, frankly. But yes, they've both been in use more or less simultaneously since almost the beginning.
Interesting. Okay. Next question is from Patrick DeSantis. It has recently come to my attention that St. Patrick was never canonized. Wow. How can this be? How can he be Ireland's patron saint if this is the case?
Well, because once again, the Irish are deceiving us all. No, that's not it. No, and Patrick, you have reason to be concerned. The reason is because he was acclaimed as a saint by the Irish and others before our current method of canonization, which is only about 500 or 600 years old, came into practice.
Wow.
It's relatively recent. Well, maybe 700 years, 6, 7, something like that. Anyway, however long it is, it's relatively recent. And prior to that time, the way we got saints is that somebody would die, and if they were martyred, then that wasn't even a question. Anybody who was martyred was considered a saint. But let's say someone else during his lifetime has a reputation for sanctity, and then he dies, and then there are miracles in his tomb, and the locals, and maybe the bishop, would claim him a saint. But as you can imagine, with such a casual procedure, there were some abuses. And so our whole system arose in response to that. But it's relatively new. So he was not canonized in the sense of going through the process. But none of our early saints were.
Wow. So okay. I think you said before the show St. Peter wasn't.
No, of course not. None of them. St. Peter, they would have had a hard time examining St. Michael's body. Or St. Michael the Archangel.
Yeah, of course.
And the thing, too, you got to bear in mind is that as the general run of faith has become less and less in the people, our ability to recognize the saint is somewhat impeded.
That's interesting.
Well, back in the day, they had what was called the sensus fidei, the sense of the faithful. And you'll often hear people like Cardinal Newman and so on go on about how during the Arian heresy and the Nestorians and so on and so forth, it was the laity that saved the faith because most of the clergy defected. Well, that was then. This is now. The vast majority of Catholics, in the West anyway, believe whatever their neighbors believe. They don't know what their faith teaches. Their clergy generally don't see any need to enlighten them and often don't believe in it themselves. You've got a couple of blind cats chasing each other. So there is no sensus fidei because there's no fidei. There's no faithful. We're a bunch of, we use Catholic as a tribal name, but it doesn't really mean anything to most of us. So in that sort of a setup, you couldn't possibly have popular acclamations of saints the way you did before because we wouldn't know what a saint was. We wouldn't recognize holiness. We'd probably shoot the guy.
That's sad.
Well, it is what it is. So St. Patrick could be grateful he didn't live in the year of our Lord 2018.
Wow. So in the I guess the pre-legalistic canonization process, by the sensus fidei, would St. Thomas argue that's infallible?
Yeah, I think he would accept it as infallible, because basically everything was done, you might say, retroactively. Now, see, another thing that has occurred is that very often local saints who were claimed in one particular area with immemorial culti, because remember, it's not a one-time deal. These people keep answering your prayers. The miracles keep happening. The intercessions keep happening. So very often what will happen is that one of these things will be brought to the attention of the authorities in Rome, and the person will end up being made a blessed, and that'll be it. So, but then sometimes they'll take interest in that particular cause, and they'll push it through.
Okay. Next question is from Marcus Xavier. What is clerical fascism? Is it better than monarchy? Why or why not? Clerical fascism? Are you familiar with clerical fascism?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was at poli-sci at Cal State Northridge all of a sudden. I'd gone back in time. I'm sorry. Yes, I've heard the phrase. It's also used. Austrofascism is another.
Is it like that?
It's like that. And it's. I hate it.
Why?
Because it's garbage.
Why?
It's the sort of thing that left-wing academics create so they can already have a position of moral superiority to what they're describing. Oh, it's clerical fascism. Let's talk about academical fascism. Yeah, academical fascism. Yeah, that's all the professors with their little mouths yapper, Yeah, academical fascism. Yeah. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of thing really infuriates me. It's done to destroy the opposition before anyone's made a point.
That's true.
So I call it mouth fascism, labio-fascism. When your mouth opens and you drop a buzzword to destroy your opponent before anybody can say anything about anything, you're a fascist. That's what it means. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you go to your university class, or you turn on the television, and a person's mouth opens, he's a fascist. Yep, that's it. Hold on. No more. Bye-bye.
So you like clerical fascism?
What the morons use that word to describe is not something that is for or against monarchy. It's not either or. Engelbert Dollfuss would have restored the Habsburgs had he had his way. He being the major proponent of clerical reality.
Reality?
Clerical realism. Austro-realism. Austro-truth. Austro-virtue.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
I haven't heard these terms before.
No, I'm making them up just the way the morons do.
Oh.
If morons can make up what they want, why can't I? Aren't I as much a moron as anybody in charge?
Well, yeah, if you want to be.
Well, if I were, I'd be in charge. But no, I mean, I can make up jargon with the best of them.
Well, okay.
I hate that phrase. I mean, it's a way of taking a slap at the church, a slap at whoever it's describing, a slap. I hate it. So, academo-fascism.
Okay. Are we done on this question?
I don't know. I still feel like that thing, but go ahead. It's not going to be useful. It won't be pretty. Let's move on.
Okay, so, I mean, what is it? What is clerical?
What the morons are trying to describe is primarily the form of government in Austria between 1932 and 38, and in some places to a degree elsewhere, meaning a strong government, an authoritarian corporatist government, with Catholic ideals. That's what they're talking about. Kind of like this is the way ours is our form of government now is a degenerate fascism government.
Ah.
Like that.
Like that, okay.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. Like if you're in charge in our regime, by definition you're obviously a degenerate, yeah. Yeah, if you're either in government or academia or media, you're a degenerate, sure. Yeah, that's what it means.
Wow, okay.
Well, I mean, why not? Why not?
I don't know.
Neither does anyone else. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but the misuse of language is something that drives me up a tree. It really does. And it's done by people who are so stupid and so superior at once. You know, the mixture, ladies and gentlemen, of arrogance and ignorance is a heady one. A delicious stew that makes you feel good about yourself. It may make you feel good about yourself, but trust me, people who know are laughing at you.
Well, and dumb people may espouse it, but to be honest, I think the tactic works.
Of course it works. That's the problem with it.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Next question is from Benjamin Cruz. How would monarchy work with all our modern technology?
The way any other government works with all our modern technology. I mean, the Royal Bureau of Investigation would would take stuff to the crime lab. I guess the Royal American Navy would use the most modern missiles and nuclear weaponry we have. I don't know.
My brother, the owner of Tumblr House, the one suit to rule them all.
The one suit to find them. One suit to bring us all, and in this skyscraper, bind them.
Yeah, my brother, he saw this question and he had a funny comment. He said, "Hasn't he seen Star Wars?"
Yeah.
Is that one of the, so Emperor Palpatine? That's monarchy with technology? Is that what?
I don't think that's very helpful, but okay.
Is that where we're headed? Is that?
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
Otherwise, we're gonna end up with the God Emperor of Dune. Oh gosh, I don't know. And now your poem has got me going. You know.
What poem?
You did one suit to rule them all.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, 3 books for the romance writers under the sky, 7 for the nonfiction lords for the halls and stone, 9 for tell-all books doomed to die. Anyway, what else we got?
Okay. Anthony asks, why does it seem like the Catholic Traditionalist movement is widely focused on the English-speaking world? When it comes to Latin masses per Catholic, the US and UK far exceed other countries. Even major Traditionalist personalities seem to all be English-speaking. It would seem that outside of the English-speaking world, only France has a bit of a pulse.
Well, it may seem that way on the one hand, but only if you're an English speaker.
Of course.
The truth of the matter is that we do have a lot here in comparison to the rest of the world, but part of it, there are a number of reasons for that. One, although with France, I have to say that as I understand it, a little more than half of the people who go to Mass every Sunday go to the traditional Mass.
Wow, that's a high ratio.
That's a high ratio. But you must understand that in the non-English speaking world, there are 2 different things afoot. One is that Catholic traditionalism is very bound up with a certain sort of politics, very often monarchism. When you've got any gathering of monarchists, a commemoration of a king or anything like that, it's almost always the traditional Mass. And secondly, the opposition to it is greater in Latin countries and in Germanic countries, partly because their bishops are better educated than ours. And so when they hate all that is good and true, they really hate it. I mean, with us, we have a lot of, in the Anglo-Saxon world, mediocrity is a big thing, you know, functionality and so forth. So bishops will often grant the Tridentine Mass. They may not be particularly fond of it, but they don't care. That's not what they're interested in. They're administrators, you know, God's bureaucrats. But with the Germans and Italians and Spanish and Latin Americans, well, oh, they know what's involved. They know.
And they hate it.
They hate it. So, you know, of course, in the end, because it's as much a generation gap there as it is here, those poor dears are going to see their old age very unfortunate. It'd be nice if every one of them could have a traditional Requiem Mass.
Each bishop?
Oh, yeah. As soon as possible, maybe.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Is something going on with...
Nothing.
Okay.
I think the Darlings deserve traditional requiem masses. In fact, I hope that by the time they retire, that's all they're able to get. I think a steady diet of Latin masses from the moment they retire to the moment they go to bishop heaven, as St. John Chrysostom describes it.
Is that how he does St. John? It doesn't sound like St. John Chrysostom to me. Bishop heaven?
Well, he used other words.
Did he?
He used a different language, yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit more sharp-tongued, I would say.
Well, there's one way. That's a way to interpret it, yeah. I prefer to call it bishop heaven. He called it hell.
Oh.
But as we've seen earlier with clerical fascism, so much is the presentation.
Oh, I see. So you're going to be doing that. Okay.
What? If it's good enough for my masters, it's good enough for me, their humble servant.
Okay.
I obey my masters. I'll bark like a dog if they tell me to.
A lot of good that's gotten you.
A lot of good it gets anybody. I didn't say my masters gave rewards. I just said I obey them.
Okay. Next question is from Skylar Lamoth. Knowing you are of...
Lamotte.
Lamotte?
Lamotte.
I can't pronounce you French-Canadian last names. Knowing you are of a French-Canadian and...
Speaking of which...
Yeah, knowing you are of a French-Canadian ancestry, could you please give us your insights on Father Lionel Groulx of Quebec? I'm a French-Canadian rediscovering my roots, and I am deeply fascinated by Father Groulx's writings. Do you tend to agree with his political stances? Are they something a French-Canadian can hope to revive? How so?
Wow. Well, yeah, I'm all for Monsignor Groulx. He was certainly our greatest historian of the 20th century.
Wow.
Well, it's not like we had that many, but he was our greatest. And I certainly agree with his political stances, in that I would have loved to have seen the province of Quebec as the shining example of Catholic and French culture in North America. That didn't happen. Instead, we had the Quiet Revolution and became as scummy as everybody else, with masters even scummier. I mean, despite the trash that rule us in this country, I put any one of our morons up against Justin Bieber Trudeau.
Well,
I put Hillary Clinton up against him.
What does that mean?
She's prettier. And she's got better tats.
Better tats?
Better tats, tattoos.
I didn't know she had tattoos.
Well, I didn't either. I wasn't looking, but he does, and he displays them.
What kind of tattoos?
The ravens and Native American garbage.
Oh, Native American. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to show his one with the something around. He's just an absolute piece of drivel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing that I related to him. But
we had one question submitted to us. It was a picture question, and it just showed him with the most gleeful, idiotic look on his face doing some religious thing, and just complete...
Oh, I mean, the guy is such a clown. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just... Why didn't... he's dead, but Milton Berle would have been better. He's just an absolute idiot. But that's the kind, there's a saying in Latin, corruptio optima pessima. The corruption of the best is the worst. And so, with the French Canadians, we had such heights of culture and faith. And we have reached such a low swamp of garbage.
I mean, is it really such that, I mean, Canadians are going to say, oh yeah, we like this guy, and we're going to keep on voting people like this?
I don't know.
Is there going to be a reaction against us? Like, let's not do this again, please.
Let's hope. I mean, we'll see next year. The little moron is going to be up for re-election, so we'll see. But, I mean, a large part of it was that they were tired of his predecessor, who'd been in over 10 years. See, part of the Canadian problem is that the Tories will get in, they'll be there for 10, 11, 12, 13 years. People get bored.
Oh.
Well, I do something different.
Oops.
Yeah, oops, indeed. I mean, that you see that not just in Canada, but in a lot of countries.
Mm.
And you know, ladies and gentlemen, really, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I admit, your prime minister or whatever may be dull, he may be boring, but is he a moron? You got to ask yourself that question. Oh, and he's been in power so long, and I'm tired of it. Yeah, well, you know, that's not a good reason to get rid of somebody. You see, just because you're bored. What it implies is that you yourself may be a little incapable of making those sorts of judgments. So, you know, you look at Harper, I mean, he was far from my idea of perfection, but he was so much better than his predecessor. And as far as this guy, I mean, they should have elected Howdy Doody the puppet. You know, they would have gotten complete sentences anyway. But I digress. To go back to Lionel Groulx, we actually, Jacques Tarivel, people like that in the 19th century, we had a long tradition of very fine writers and historians in Quebec, which we have completely forgotten. And of course, in the States, nobody ever knew it, partly because it was in French. You know, for the American, if it's not in English, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And if it's in English and it's more than 3 syllables, well, can we not go there? Anyways, I was going to say, before I interrupted myself, the truth of the matter is, though, that these people were great. Can we go there? Can we get it back? Well, it starts with the individual, you know. And mind you, I'm not just talking either about the French Canadians. If you're watching this and you're of Mexican-American descent, or you're in Mexico, or anywhere, you should know who Lucas Salaman is. If you should know, if you're Argentine, you should know about the Cabildo group and about Lugones and Galvez. If you're Polish, you should know about Roman Dmowski. If you're Lithuanian, you should know about Antanas Smetona. On and on and on, if you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Today, you see there's a vast body of Catholic political and literary and cultural writing developed since the French Revolution, to some degree before, but particularly since, in many different languages. In fact, in as many different languages as there are Catholic peoples. They are the common property of all of us. And when you read a lot of them, you see the similarities, because they're dealing with very similar problems, very similar issues. Now, I know that part of the problem is we don't speak Dutch. We don't speak Ukrainian. We don't speak Czech. We don't speak Magyar. We don't speak Italian. Into that void rushes Google Translate. Now, I know that Googleese is far from perfect, but it's so good in getting the bare ideas across. You see. And of course, the funny thing about Googleese is that the more you read it, the more adept you get at it.
Okay, so...
And the more you actually begin to learn about the language you're seeing murdered in front of your eyes. In other words, when you realize after a while that a certain formulation is a direct English translation of this and that, it gives you a feel for the language. It's very strange. I mean, it's like learning a language backwards. But it gives you a real insight. You have to spend some time with it, you know, and be patient. But it's worth doing. And it's always getting better, too, I have to say that. I remember in the very beginning, Otto von Habsburg's name was always turned into Petrol of Havincastle.
Wow. Okay.
Otto was always turned into petrol, as in gasoline. And von was of course, which is true. But Habsburg, Burg is one of the words for castle, Schloss being the other. And Haps, they decided, was having castle. So I pretty soon realized that Petrol of Havincastle was Otto von Habsburg. But mind you, we're talking like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's much better now.
Yeah.
And it will continue to get better. And the number of languages gets wider. So Google Translate, ladies and gentlemen. It's your friend.
There's no English translations of Father Groulx's writings? No?
Well, who would? Why would they? It's not of interest or relevance to us wonderful English speakers who know everything and stuff.
You said he was the best historian of the 20th century.
No, I said the best French-Canadian historian of the 20th century.
Oh, well, that's like saying the world's tallest pygmy.
No, don't steal my words. Don't get me started. Italian-American cuisine.
Uh-oh. Okay, we'll drop it.
Yeah, I think, or Slovak-American cuisine. Do you want to talk pierogies?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay, fried or steamed?
Steamed.
Ha! No, you're no Polak. Read on.
What the? Okay.
The Poles fry them.
Whatever.
Spaghetti and meatballs?
Yeah, what about spaghetti and meatballs?
That's not Italian.
What are you talking about that's not Italian?
It's not Italian. It's like corned beef and cabbage is in Irish. It's all American. It's like chow mein.
They don't have spaghetti and meatballs in Italy.
Nope. Meat sauce, but they don't have these big chunks of meat because meat was expensive. There was an American innovation. The Italians got here and found they could get meat real cheap, especially ground beef. Made these huge meatballs, and then they became very, very popular, don't be shocked, in the 1920s. Can you guess why?
Why?
Because it was good in speakeasies. Spaghetti and meatballs is wonderful to soak up some of the booze.
Wow.
Now, what nationality ran most of the speakeasies and the liquor trade?
Italians.
Italians.
Oh, so you're telling me Italy doesn't have spaghetti?
No, it has spaghetti.
It's just the meat sauce part, which you're saying is
Well, it has
Italian.
meat sauce. It just doesn't make the gigantic meatballs. That was the American innovation. So you got to remember the Italians who came over here were not wealthy. They were mostly from southern Italy. They'd have everything taken from them. Their country destroyed. They come here en masse. They're very poor people. They used to have very little meat at home. They come here to the land of the big PX, as my brother calls it, and they're meat aplenty and real cheap. So they went cray-cray.
Okay.
Now they made meatballs, but you will not see that in southern Italian cooking in Italy.
Well, they're missing out then. Meatballs are great.
Oh, I'm not going to argue. I love spaghetti and meatballs. I'd be lying if I told you I didn't.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh, that was pretty useful. What else we got?
Yeah. Okay, our last question today is from Diego Torres.
Okay.
Charles, don't lazy and dumb Catholics deserve to have children too? I see so many of today's problems originating from the fact that those children just never existed in the first place. I decided when I got married, I will throw caution to the wind, have as many Catholic kids as possible with one woman, and fear not poverty nor making mistakes. Wouldn't that be better? So many pagans and heretics I know think they are being some sort of savior in not having children.
The very fact that you put it that way shows that you're not one of the lazy and stupid ones. You can't fool me. You can't kid a kidder. I know what cooks. Now, obviously, if you're a believing Catholic and you can get a wife who's in on the deal, sure, have as many kids as you can. But, although I know some people will say that we shouldn't breed like rabbits, I can't hear that. I can't hear that kind of anti-life statement without wishing that the person's parents had felt the same way.
That's mean-spirited.
What?
You're saying that they should never have existed.
No, I'm saying that their parents should have felt the same way they do.
Oh, okay. I see.
See?
Okay,
You're
so
attributing a mean thought to me.
falsely?
Yes, I don't have a mean thought in my body. All in my brains.
Okay.
No, I honestly, this is a question that some people do throw caution to the winds, and sometimes it works. But honestly, the more thought you put into it, the better. And of course, you really want to, before you marry a girl, you want to make sure she's on board with you. You really, really do. And look at her family. You know, if she's an only child, and there are only 2 kids, and the mother works and the father stays home or whatever, bear in mind that's what she's used to.
Oh, okay. I have a lot of stuff to say on this topic. You know, there's one family of repute in our area who I think the initial family, they had like 12 kids or something. Something huge.
Yeah.
And then each of those kids had 12 kids.
Yeah.
I have hope in that. Like, in terms of, you know, Catholicism breeding power.
Not only that, there's another family in the same area like that. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
the two clans.
The 2 clans.
And there's only been one marriage directly between them.
Wow.
But they're related, you know, through infinite different things now.
I'm sure.
And the joke is that if you live in LA, ladies and gentlemen, and you're Catholic, and your family stays Catholic, you know, your kids and all that, you will be related to one or the other of both of these families. Sooner or later, yeah, it's going to happen. I don't want to say we've got a shallow gene pool here, but the thing is, though, that, yeah, I mean, if you can have as many kids as you can, just bear in mind that the biggest cause of divorces in families today is financial. So by that, I mean, I don't mean to say don't have kids unless you know how you're going to take care of them. No. Bear in mind that as you have them, you're going to have to adjust in order to take care of them. You may have to take 2 jobs, or 3.
One of my other thoughts on this thing is, to me, you know, Diego mentioned, you know, pagans and heretics think they're being saviors and not having children. You know, to me, that's like an implicit recognition that this world is so ugly. Like, they know all the ugliness, all the ugliness of our culture, all the ugliness of everything. Like, they don't want to subject that to the kids. It's like an implicit, they'll never acknowledge it explicitly,
No.
but, you know, because it's, you know, they're all about animals, right?
Well, they are.
But they're about animals because they love they probably haven't even thought about, they love the innocence of the animals.
Sure.
You know,
which kids will not retain.
You know, you think, you know, of puppies, right? But what if that puppy had an abortion? Suddenly he's not so innocent. Suddenly it's all too human. Yeah, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I mean...
Bruno had an abortion. It's very strange.
But you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know...
No, and 2, there's also the fact that animals don't have free will, so they rarely challenge you.
And you never have you know, a dog saying, yeah, I'd like to hang out right now, but I need more me time right now.
Or I'm going to go to the corner and hang out with the other dogs.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't happen. Cats, of course, on the other hand, cats will take their me time.
Yeah, they're very independent. I don't like cats as much as dogs.
I like them both, but for different reasons. Cats are pretty. They can be affectionate. They're very expressive. You know, one thing I learned years ago, dogs will eat whatever you put in front of them, and then want more.
Yeah.
They're like horses. They'll eat until they die, frankly. Until they explode.
Okay.
Or zombies on The Walking Dead. They'll just keep eating. But with cats, they're very finicky. And if you'll notice, some of them, if they don't like what you serve them, they'll make this strange scratching motion around it, very similar to when they bury their feces.
Wow.
And they're saying it should be buried.
I haven't witnessed this.
Oh, I have.
Did you have any pets growing up?
Oh, gosh, yes.
What did you have?
God, what did we have? Dogs, cats, mice, rats, hamsters, goldfish, guppies, guinea pigs.
You had a cat coexisting with mice and rats and a dog at the same time?
Yes, but not in one enclosure. Although the cats and the dogs got on very well.
Okay, yeah, and we had a cat and a dog at the same time. They had an interesting...
You know, it's a thing online. You may have seen it where this puppy, this dog, and this cat have got their puppies and their kittens in the same doghouse.
Interesting.
I mean, it's so cute. You want to projectile vomit. I mean, it's just blah, but it's uber cute.
Yeah.
But they seem to be getting on quite happily, and the little puppies and kittens are they're not quite intermingled, but quite close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read one of the strangest memories of my childhood was see my dad. Whenever one of the cats would get pregnant, my dad was the one who would deal with them. You know, you get the box and throw some cloth on it and dump the cat in. Well, it so happened that my father was out of town one day, and one of our cats was in a position to give birth. Well, she tried to wake me up, and I wasn't having any of it.
The cat was like, I need it.
Yeah.
The cat knew?
Yeah, well, that she was about to give birth? Yeah, she knew. They used to go after my dad.
No, but I mean like that you were gonna help out, like a cat requesting assistance, like
I suppose.
Can you drive me to the hospital?
Kind of like that. But I wasn't. I didn't know what she wanted. I wanted to sleep, so I just lay there. Well, she ended up giving birth on my chest. I've got the covers up like this, and she just gave birth right there, on top of me. And I woke up to see this mewling mass of stuff. And so my brother had to cut the blanket of the sheet, lift the whole kit and caboodle, quite literally, into a cardboard box. I was trapped there. It was disgusting.
That is such a strange story. I can't believe I'm only hearing this for the first time now.
Sorry.
That is why don't you push the cat off? Like, okay, go give birth somewhere else.
Because when I was fully conscious, she had her kittens. I wasn't going to push her off. I could get hurt.
Wow, that's weird. Okay.
I thought so.
How did the cats get along with the mice and the rats?
Well, they weren't in the same enclosure. So the mice and the rats were in cages.
Okay.
I didn't let them go play with the cats, you know. Here, go play with the cat.
Okay.
No, that would have ended real quick, and I can guess how it would have ended. And the mice I had when I was in high school was funny because they kept getting cancers and dying.
Oh.
It was horrible. They bite their heads off and all that when they were infected with the cancer. So finally, I went to the guy I was buying them from, and he was a supplier of mice for laboratories. You know, they tell you, don't get lab rats or lab mice as pets.
Oh.
Well, I should have listened.
Yeah.
And I said, why do they keep getting cancers? Why is that? He says, oh, well, this strain is very, very inbred, and they're prone to cancer. And I looked at it, and I said, wait a minute, they're getting cancers, you know, right and left. But don't you supply mice for laboratory experiments? He goes, oh, yeah. Well, if they're inbred, and they're going to get cancer, would that have an effect on the medical experiment that the doctors wouldn't know about?
That's really stupid.
And you know what his response was?
What?
Oh yeah, that's why I never take any of that stuff seriously.
This was a pet shop owner?
No, not a pet shop. It was a mouse breeder.
Oh, a mouse. But still, I mean, such a small-minded individual with such huge, enormous ramifications on drug trials and everything.
All sorts of stuff.
And just a complete
They get cancer no matter what you do.
Complete airhead.
Yeah.
That could, maybe it took a life-saving drug off the market because these rats were getting cancer, but...
Or maybe cigarettes are good for you. Maybe those 9 out of 10 doctors who said menthol would be good for your health were right. Back in the 50s.
Back in the 50s, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find them now. They're all dead.
Gosh.
Probably lung cancer. But, no, I can tell animal stories.
Wow.
Absolutely. No, and I love pets. I really do. But having said that, I love people more.
Yeah, of course.
And not to get back on track, but you know, the other thing you can say about it is that the fewer heretics and pagans, as he puts it, have children, the better for us all.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing about it. That's one of my favorite biblical things is, you know, evil only has the power to destroy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the power to create, so it destroys itself. Evil always destroys itself.
It does, in the end. Even when it makes up weird words.
Weird, but... Wait, what are you referring to? Are you referring to...
What, clerical fascism?
Yeah.
Are we still on that?
Yeah, no, okay.
Can we let that rest?
I will let it rest.
Thank you.
For your sake.
Thank you. Well, no, but here we are at the end of another episode. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day is coming. Gosh, this year is shifting by
Very quickly.
I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be autumn before we know it, and then Christmas, then Easter again, round and round. But the faith never changes, the truth never changes. So get out there and discover some more of it. You've got almost everything in the public domain online now. You have Google Translate. Hunt this stuff up. Here is your assignment for the week, ladies and gentlemen. In Italian, there is a website which means in English, Library of Strong Thought. Your assignment today is to look it up on the internet, get your translation device, Google Translate, put in the English Library of Strong Thought, then cut and paste the Italian that comes out on the other side into your Google search, and go find the Library of Strong Thought in Italian and read it as you translate it into English. You'll discover a lot of characters and individuals they've never heard of, and they're Italian, so this guy can't argue.
Okay.
Your people produce some really great writers.
Well, thank you.
That's true. Solaro della Margherita, the Prince de Canossa.
You're going to show me up now? Is that what you're doing?
See,
You're going
that's
to show
what
me
I'm
up?
trying to- Look, you're the most popular man in this building. I get nothing?
You're very popular as well.
Yeah. You know, I'm so popular, how come, I'm not going to talk about lunch at the commissary today. All I'll say is that, you know the phrase, well preserved?
Yes.
Yeah, the chef doesn't.
Oh.
We'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, that will do it for this episode. We'll see you next time, and remember, if it's Monday, it's off the menu.
God bless, take care, and a happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you and your families as well.